Play this video in the background like a podcast, and you might learn something new about fulfilling, meaningful relationships. Vignesh, a member inside of Library of Adonis, asked me, do I recommend any particular countries to move to where you can find a really good quality girl who actually respects her parents and follows religion? Because in most countries, girls just pretend to follow their religion because their parents make them, or because something bad is happening in their life and they just need some spiritual support. But the moment these things aren't happening, like when they move off to university, they just turn into degenerates. The small answer is yes, there are countries that have a much greater proportion of high quality women relative to low quality women, because these countries impose very strict religious laws. Think about countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, where the government is very strict. So casual sex is prohibited, dating is prohibited, pregnancies before marriage are prohibited, alcohol is prohibited. Now, don't get me wrong, people still do these things in those countries, but it's not publicly. You're not allowed to promote these things. If you do, you could be punished severely. So, what's the outcome through this? What's the end result? The women and the girls that grow up in these countries, they're not influenced by degeneracy. They don't have access to social media, which constantly shows them softcore pornography, where they're incentivized to post rude pictures of themselves for clout. They don't see their friends getting pissed drunk every weekend, taking partying drugs, going to bars or nightclubs, and they're not allowed to date or have sex before marriage. So these girls are not influenced by these degenerate things. So they grow up pure, they grow up virtuous, they are happy to save themselves for marriage and their true soulmate. Now, compare this to Western countries like in Europe, North America, United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, where there are no laws like this. In fact, young women are actively encouraged to post nudes. They're actively shown that if you make an OnlyFans, you can make some pretty good money by showing your coochie. That if you drink alcohol, you are cool. If you take drugs, if you smoke weed, you are cool. That it's completely normal to go to bars and nightclubs and get pissed drunk and sleep with random guys who you don't even remember the day after what their name is. That having children before marriage is perfectly acceptable. What happens to young girls that grow up in these countries? They get shown that this is normal. They get shown this is the way of life. It's acceptable. And most importantly, you are allowed to do this. We won't stop you. We, the government and society, and even parents, we won't stop you. You are encouraged. So, what happens to their upbringing? They actively engage in these things. So, in the strict religious countries, the proportion of high quality women compared to low quality women is a lot higher than in European and North American countries. But that's not always a good thing, obviously. If you take away someone's fundamental human rights, there are a range of other issues. I'm not saying that Saudi Arabia, for example, is some champion of virtuous women. Not at all. But this is the cold, hard truth. Does that mean then that you should move to strict religious countries just to find high quality women? The answer is no. Just because you live in a country which has not that many high quality women relative to low quality women, meaning low quality women are actually much more prevalent. That doesn't necessarily mean that there are no high quality women. What that means is you just need to put in more effort and more time in taking action to find these high quality women. Because clearly what you're doing right now hasn't worked. If you're going to the gym and you're trying to find a cute girl, very wholesome girl that you could build something meaningful with, but every girl that you see is not that great quality. She wears booty shorts. She's showing her tits and ass on Instagram. Then just change your environment. Stop looking in the same place day by day. Who goes to the gym? Everyone. So, of course, if you live in a country where there are more degenerates, then in the gym you will find more degenerates. If you're trying to find a cute girl through your friends, but your friends aren't really on self improvement. Or maybe they are, but they aren't really as devoted to a wholesome, meaningful life as you are. And all the girls that they hang around with are kind of very low quality. They're very promiscuous. They show off their body on social media. They even have boyfriends and casual sex before marriage. Then, of course, that's not going to work because your social circle isn't as high quality as you need it to be. So again, you need to put in the time and effort to change your environment. That doesn't mean you need to change your entire country. What it means is you need to accept that there are high quality girls in your country. They just don't hang around the places or the people that you hang around with. Go to places, interact with people that high quality girls would go to or interact to. If a girl is very high quality, then of course she's going to be religious. Not because her parents force her to, but because she sees this genuine, meaningful fulfillment by believing there's a greater purpose to life, by believing that there is a God, the supreme entity that watches over her and flourishes her life with love and color. Where would these girls go? They would go to the mosques if they're Muslim. They would go to the church if they're Christian. They would go to the synagogue if they're Jewish. They would go to the temples if they're Hindu or Sikh. So you need to go to those places. A woman that frequently goes to the mosque because she genuinely believes in faith and God, do you think after going to the mosque she would go party and take drugs? Of course not. Do you think she would have an Instagram of showing intimate pictures of herself? A woman that goes to a Sikh temple, do you think she will have boyfriends? Very unlikely, because the proportion of high quality, devoted, spiritually fulfilled women that go to religious places will obviously be much greater than the proportion of girls that go there but are low quality. So you need to go to these places. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you just go to these places and these girls will fall head over heels for you, because you still have to meet their minimum standards as well. If they are genuinely high quality, if they've saved themselves for their soulmate, then they won't just date any guy that comes their way. They won't just marry the first man that goes to speak to them. You still have to reassure them that you are this top tier, supremely masculine man who's dominant in a good way because he can take charge, get things done, that he won't mess her around. He's not looking for casual dating or casual sex. He's looking for a meaningful relationship that leads to marriage. You still have to satisfy her, but your chances of meeting a high quality girl there would be much, much greater than in the gym, in a bar, at school, at university, in your social circle, because these are just generic places and generic people. Everyone interacts with these things. The last thing that I want to say is if you want to change countries because you truly detest the country that you live in because it is supremely degenerate, it's best to do this after you have found a high quality woman and you married her. You've started your life with her, you're fulfilling each other, you're even having children. Because then you have a much stronger incentive to change something drastically. You don't want your children to ever go to a public school and be bastardized by the education system. You don't want your daughter to become a teenager in a country where girls in her school wear mini skirts and give blowy joeys to boys in the bathrooms. You want to protect your children's innocence. That's when it actually makes sense to do something drastic, like go from a Western country to somewhere that's a little bit more strict so you can protect the virtue and innocence of your children. You can still do this before you meet this woman. But I think that change is so drastic that it may backfire because you are abandoning your life. You're abandoning your family. You maybe even be abandoning your work and your job and your business simply in this pursuit of a high quality woman when you could actually find her relatively easily, like the way that I've described. Just think about it. If you want a very feminine girl by your side, where would she hang around? Who would she interact with? If she's feminine, she's guided by her emotions. She feels good when she does good. And when she does good, she feels good. So I've found that a lot of high quality feminine girls like to do charity work, volunteering, because they enjoy helping their community. They enjoy making a difference. They enjoy helping the homeless and anyone else who's vulnerable. When I went to these kind of places, I actually saw a huge amount of young women who had never dated, never kissed a boy, never had casual sex, who were waiting for someone like their soulmate to come along. And if I wasn't such a dirty degenerate, I would have interacted with them, built something meaningful. So you should just do what I didn't do. If you know where the high quality girls are, just go there, build something special, progress the relationship, and then you can think about migrating to a different country.